And we're back talking to Imam Feisal. Thank you for being with us. There are two mosques already in that region of Ground Zero. Yours, as you pointed out, is about 12 blocks away from the actual Ground Zero, what people have called the hole in the ground. I live downtown. I've seen it a lot. And then another one that's just about 2 blocks away. Why do you think this structure is causing all this controversy now?
Well, there's a certain amount of anti-Islamic sentiment in this country.
Why now?
And we have seen it in the attacks upon mosques in various parts of the country in the last several weeks. So it is clear that this issue is not just about our center, which is an attempt to create peace between Muslims and non-Muslims, but this has aroused a certain anti-Islam sentiment, which is unfortunate in this country. But we need to look at it. We need to have a discourse about it. And we need to make sure this doesn't dominate the discourse between us. Because Americans believe fundamentally in a very fundamental, strong way about freedom of religion, about separation of governments and churches, between separation of church and state, which means that the powers of the government should not be used to coerce people to believe in any religion, but it should be used to defend and protect religious rights and freedoms. So this is the conversation we need to have right now.
About 2 weeks after 9/11, you were interviewed by Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes, and I want to play a little chunk of how that interview went.
Are you in any way suggesting that we in the United States deserved what happened?
I wouldn't say that the United States deserved what happened, but the United States policies were an accessory to the crime that happened.
Okay. You say that we're an accessory?
Yes.
How?
Because we have been an accessory to a lot of innocent lives dying in the world. In fact, in the most direct sense, Osama bin Laden is made in the USA.
There, you have said, when people run that very snippet, that that's taken out of context. What's the context?
Well, I was describing the fact that the United States had actually worked with the Taliban, cooperated with the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen were VIPs during the Reagan White House administration. Osama bin Laden was something that the United States cooperated with in fighting against the Soviet Union. However, looking back at it right now, I realize that it was not a very compassionate thing to say, and I regret having used those words.
But do you believe that U.S. policies led to the World Trade Center being hit by planes, by terrorists? Is it, there's being, maybe shouldn't, you feel it wasn't necessarily a politic thing to say, but do you think it's true?
Well, I mean, Osama bin Laden was something that, we had worked with before, and we've seen what bin Laden did. And the sentiment towards bin Laden certainly has shifted, and we see what has happened, and we have to understand what has happened in order to solve it. But the work that we have to do now is not about pointing fingers.
People always say that to me. I don't want to point fingers when they don't want to necessarily answer the question, which is, do you think the U.S. was responsible for those attacks on its own soil by terrorists?
I was also trying to say, to share part of my role in bridge building Solidarity is like what I do when a marital couple comes to me, when we've had some discord for counseling. And part of what I have to do is to speak the truth to each side, or to tell them, when you say this, your husband hears that. And you, sir, when you say this, your wife hears that. It is part of my responsibility as a bridge builder to speak the truth about what's great about America, what we've done right, and what are less glorious moments. And many people feel that the Iraq adventure, for example, has been one of our less glorious moments. But unless we're able to look and speak truthfully and understand the issues, then the conversation is going to devolve into a situation where we're not going to be able to work and build bridges towards peace. The bigger conversation, and the more important one, is how do we build peace? It's not that easy.
But doesn't that bring us back around to the same thing? Is how to build peace, to put a cultural center, Islamic cultural center, that will have a mosque that is angering so many people, that 71% of the country says is not the right thing to do. Is that the right step
First
to peace?
of all, we have always said there's going to be a dedicated prayer space for Muslims, which we do need. And we're willing to have prayer space for Christians and for Jews. As I said, we have to build on our common platform. We need to build a space which creates and emphasizes a culture of worship. I, as a Muslim, want you, as a Christian, to really be a perfect Christian. I want my Jewish friends to be perfect Jews, to live according to the highest principles, what it means to be a Jew, to be a Christian, to be a Muslim.
There are many people who say that's not what Islam is about. I know we have to take a short break. When we come back on the other side, I want to play for you a chunk of what Franklin Graham has said about Islam and get your response to that, because it's very tough and it's very harsh. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. And we're back with Imam Feisal. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about money. $100 million is a price tag for this Islamic Cultural Center. Where are you going to get the money?
Well, we have yet to raise a capital campaign.
You have no money for it yet.
We have not raised any money for it yet.
Where will you get the money?
We'll get money from whatever sources we can, domestically especially, and we'll be very transparent on how we'll raise the money. This has been something that we've committed ourselves to.
Meaning you will list whoever is giving you money?
Yes.
Will you turn down money from people who say give money to Hamas?
Absolutely.
Then no question about it. Anyone who supports Hamas cannot give money to you.
We will do whatever is absolutely correct and legal and safe thing to do.
Which means what exactly? I mean, because that's an extra condition.
You see, so that I'm the visionary behind it. I'm not the actual builder. I'm not the financial expert. I'm not the legal expert on these things. But I have a vision here of establishing something which I know in my heart of hearts will be a powerful instrument of peace.
Who would you not take money from? Who would you say, no, take it back? Who would you turn it away from?
We would turn it from anybody who was deemed to be a danger to this process.
There have been a lot of questions, and I think a fair amount of controversy and criticism about questions that people have had about your take on Hamas. You were asked in an interview in the radio. The interviewer said, is the State Department correct in designating Hamas as a terror group? And you dodged the question. You went on a long time, but there was really sort of no answer to it. So and I guess people sense that whatever that answer is, if you don't condemn Hamas, then in a way maybe you're supporting Hamas as a terror organization. So I guess I'd ask that question again. Do you know, is the State Department right in saying that Hamas is a terrorist organization?
I condemn everyone and anyone who commits acts of terrorism. And Hamas has committed acts of terrorism.
Let's talk about Islam. I want to play you a chunk of what Franklin Graham, a leading Christian, has said about your religion.
The teaching of Islam is to hate the Jew, to hate the Christian, to kill them. Their goal is world domination, and for the Muslim, peace means when all the other nations are subject to Islam, then we are at peace. The world will be at peace when the entire world is under Islam. Well, I don't agree with the teachings of Islam.
How do you respond to that?
Islam does not preach that at all. And the Quran is quite specific. The Quran says that whoever believes in God and in the last day shall be saved. It is a religion whose very name, Islam, is congruent to the word shalom, which means peace. It is about establishing peace. We greet each other with peace be upon you, like shalom aleichem, which the Jews do in greeting each other. It's a religion based upon peace. But have there been people who have, Muslims who have expressed such a sentiments? Yes, they have.
The 9/11 hijackers said that they were acting in the name of Islam.
That is a travesty. That is a travesty. Just as the inquisitors in Spain were committing a travesty against the teachings of Jesus Christ. We do have people in our faith community who have committed travesties against the teachings of Islam. This is part of the war or the battle within Islam today, which has to be waged and which is being.
Muslims been vocal enough against extremists?
In the Muslim world, there are many people who have been vocal, and we have been very vocal against extremists. But how to win this battle? It's an ongoing battle, and we must continue to wage the battle for peace.
What is the likelihood, do you think, of another 9/11 type attack here?
I hate to think of that. I hate to think of that.
But you've said security, national security, is of obviously great concern to you.
It is of fundamental importance to us.
So that
look at what 9/11 did to our country. It traumatized the country. It has created a situation where Muslims are under even greater suspicion. It is important for us to change that discourse, to change that perception. And how can we change this perception, Soledad, if we don't engage, if we don't dialogue, if we don't get to know each other? Engaging and dialogue and getting to know each other. Right now, it's kind of a screaming match in front of a storefront. Because the radicals on radicals have taken over the discourse. But do you think, I mean, when you ask your average American, 71% say that they think it's a bad idea, that the wisdom is not there in doing this. So are those people radicals? Are they Islamophobic? No, it's because people are concerned. People want this problem to go away. I have been in this neighborhood for 25 years. I'll continue to be in this neighborhood after this thing dies down. Mayor Bloomberg was quoted as saying that he believes that the day after Election Day, this story will go away. Do you think that's true? That's what he said. Do you think that's true? I hope it's true. I hope it dies down tomorrow. Because we need this dangerous discourse to die down. We need to build bridges, to build relationships, to build friendships, and to build a new chapter in Muslim, non-Muslim relations. Is this the right way to do that? How do you propose we do it? How do you propose we really engage? Soledad, we mustn't, look, this is a matter of engagement right now. How do we continue engagement is the question. But engagement where people are furious. Many people on both sides of the issue are furious. Is that the kind of engagement? Well, I'm asking, what's the solution? What is the solution to create an advancement of peace? We have to advance a discourse on peace. Our politicians get it. But isn't it the opposite of peace? Two sides yelling at each other with placards 2 blocks from Ground Zero, which people, I think, here in New York and around the country would say, that is sacred land. That's a special place for everyone in America. Is that a step toward peace there? As Clyde Haberman and many people have said, look at what exists in that neighborhood. Look at what exists around the corner. Oh, I live it. Believe me, I live downtown, so I know the neighborhood very well. So let's be clear. Calling this particular block sacred ground and what exists there, there's, strip clubs and delis, and I've been there a million times. Right. But I think when people call it sacred ground, they're saying something terrible happened on this spot. We've got to be fair. You can't say a place which has strip joints is sacred ground. We've got to be just. We've got to speak the truth. We've got to have justice for everybody. We're a country of justice for all. Not justice for non-Muslims only, or some groups and not for others. This is what America is all about, Soledad. We've got to really mean what we say and say what our values are truly about. This isn't. The discourse has been hijacked by people who say no. But in that 71% of people, those are not extremists. I recognize that. This is why I'm on the show with you today. I want to talk to these people, show them my face, show them what I'm about, show them my track record. I've been looked at every which way. Every statement has been looked at, including letters from 30 years ago when I was a young man. I've committed myself to this. Let me tell you my story. I'm going to have you tell me your story, but after a commercial break, because it's very important to this particular issue. Well, and we'll talk about your work with the State Department as well. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. Thank you.
Stay with us, everybody.